I think actually from the economy, there's a couple of things. Both the cats themselves. Obviously, last year was a very busy year for catastrophes. What people found was, I think, that they realized the interconnectedness of the world. It became much more apparent to people how something that happened half a world away could really feel like it happened just down Main Street. So I think actually people became more aware of how interconnected everything was. The same could be said for the Euro crisis. I think actually people became more world aware of the dynamic nature of risk and the need to actually manage a very complex mosaic. And there's two parts that I would say for Solvency II in particular. Zurich is supportive of that institutionally. I think we actually think it's a good move forward, something that we've been ready for with our Swiss solvency testing. More broadly on the evolving nature of regulation, it actually showed up in one of the reports that we co-sponsor with the WEF around one of the main risks for the world is actually to think about the unintended consequences of regulation. So while we clearly need to have robust regulation that actually reduces risk and makes things more stable, the question is how to actually do that most effectively. I hope the severity of the cycles are becoming a thing of the past. And actually it is interesting when you look at all the things that have impacted the industry, whether it's reducing the expected yields on investments or some of the catastrophes that have occurred. There have been several things, as well as just quite honestly the overall industry loss ratio, that would say that the industry should be getting hardening rates after years now of a soft market. They're really not yet, right? People define hard markets different ways. I would define it as when you're getting rate in excess of your expected claims trend and what you need to offset other factors like reduced investment yields. We haven't seen that in the industry. For North America Commercial, we saw about 3% of rate last year. That's up obviously from prior years, so that's directionally the right way, but not enough to offset all the impacts in the industry. We're more predominantly in the commercial space, and I think the role of the broker and the agent is critical as an advisor and someone who adds value in that role. For us, the way we've tried to think of it is how do we get more of a partnership between our key partners in the broker space and our customers, that we have more of a tripartite relationship where we can articulate our value proposition directly, but also realize that there's critical roles that brokers play and always will. So we've moved more to a select broker strategy where we've identified a smaller set of people that we want to partner deeply with, and that creates a much better dynamic for both us and the brokers, I think. One of the things recently that came out was a Harvard Business Review article where there was a study done, and I think about 40% of risk managers felt they were proactive in how they were thinking about risk at their company. That's less than half, right? So that's not really the place we want to end up over time. But by the way, if we went back several years ago, I think that would have been even a lower number. The challenge for risk managers is to come to the table and to help lead and drive the discussion, but also realize that at the end of the day, they can't personally own most of the management of those risks. They need to get the organization to come in and get bought in, to be more proactive, and to think about the complex mosaic of risks they have to face, which is quite challenging because at the end of the day, it's hard for anyone to be an expert on all these topics. So it's really how do you bring together a group of people who understand the nature of the risk and the need to be proactive in managing it. Back to the report that we co-sponsored with the WEF for a second. The process for that was that we identified, they had experts, 469 experts that were academics, business people, world institutions, government officials, and asked them to prioritize risks. They picked 50 risks in total across 5 categories. One of those was cyber attack. And this is not cyber liability risk, but more of an actual attack on a cyber infrastructure. And that went from being 25th out of 38 risks in 2011 to being 4th out of 50 risks in 2012 in the most recent report, right? So a huge jump up, basically popping onto the radar after not having been there at all. And I think a similar analogy for cyber liability could come back to all of us and all the corporations. As the world becomes more interconnected, it's very hard to imagine a company that's of reasonable scale that doesn't have internet connectivity and risk and issues around data privacy and protection. So the real key is, can we understand it, can we quantify it? And then also what we're finding as we talk to clients is that it's, first there's the economic risk, but then there's also a service attached to it, helping them better understand the risk and then decide how to best protect themselves with risk transfer or not, but also the services, if something happens, how do they resolve the issue and get back up and running quickly?